So before we get started, I wanted to have a talk to you about, it might be a rumor, but I prefer to think of it as the cold hard truth.
Okay.
And that is Walt Disney. His final words on his deathbed. Do you want to guess who he told them to? This is like 86% fact.
86% fact. Okay, so I mean, I guess not directly to his brother. I'm thinking it's not a Roy Disney thing.
Like, this is what I've been told. This is true. It's just I haven't verified it, so I don't want to say for sure.
Okay. Yeah, just allegedly. Allegedly.
Yeah.
So, who?
Kurt Russell.
Pardon?
Kurt Russell, his career started out with him being a live-action Disney actor. In the 70s...
Really?
Yeah, Disney...
Like a park cast member or something like that? Or
so in the 70s, they kind of moved a little bit away from animation. They still made animated movies, but they also spent a lot of time focusing on live-action movies.
Weird. I wasn't really aware of that.
Yes, they're awful. They're not very good.
What, can you give me some examples?
Yeah, so the original Homeward Bound came out in that time period.
I didn't know that the 90s Homeward Bound was a remake.
Yes. It's not...
Okay.
It's not... I've watched it years ago. It's not as good. The animals don't talk. It's just like you're following these animals through the woods. It's very boring.
That sounds terrible.
I want to say Parent Trap, but it might not be. No, I think it is. I think it's Parent Trap.
Okay.
It's a lot of movies. I think like That Darn Cat. Yeah, which I've definitely watched the 90s remake with Christina Ricci.
I didn't know that was a remake either. What the fuck?
Your whole childhood's a lie.
Why? They've been doing this forever.
I don't know why. They were financially successful. They're just not very good movies.
Sure.
And I think like 2,000 Leagues Under the Sea, maybe.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea?
No, 2,000.
2,000.
You know me in numbers.
Lever 2,000.
Lever 2,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
This was the first bit of native advertising in film.
You joke, but there's a lot of propaganda in the script. So little Kurt Russell, baby Kurt Russell, was the person to hear Walt Disney's dying words.
This is 86% fact.
Honestly, it's probably like 91.
91. Okay, wait, we got 5% bump here.
Yeah.
What?
He has not said what they are, though.
Interesting.
So what I'd like to propose is that we throw some options out as to what it could have been that Kurt Russell heard.
All right, what are you thinking?
So the first one is like, Kurt, come here. I think Werner von Braun might be a Nazi. Yeah.
Gee, you think, Mr. Disney?
Kurt's a nice guy. I think he was probably like, no, it's all right, Walt. It's all right. We all of us already know that.
We already know.
We already know he's a Nazi. You gave like a week-long special to a Nazi to talk about outer space, but like
sure did.
Yeah. Yep. The only reason we got to the moon before Russia was
Werner von Braun.
Werner von Braun. Or it could also have been.
Yes, Mr. Disney.
Mickey Mouse was supposed to be a squirrel.
No, we know that can't be it.
Why?
Well, because remember, he had Oswald the Lucky Rabbit before. Oh, or are you saying that whenever he was developing the mouse, that he was actually trying?
He wanted a squirrel.
He was trying to draw a squirrel, but fucked up, and everyone said mouse.
And he's just like, yes, and
he just rolled with it. He couldn't figure out how to draw that tail.
Right. And the last one's not really so much like a secret revealed, so much as just like something he has to get off his chest. And I think it kind of went like this, like, Kurt, come here. I'm an actor. I don't think I've ever had a death scene. Kurt, Goofy is a dog, and so is Pluto. But one wears clothes. Why?
So even he
doesn't know. He doesn't know.
He has no idea.
No.
Oh my God.
He went to his grave having no idea why. Pluto and Goofy are both dogs.
They're both
but
dogs.
one's anthropomorphic and the other one is just a dog.
I don't care. I don't care if there's ever actually been an explanation for this. It's unsettling. It is deeply fucked up that they did this.
Walt Disney has a lot to answer for. but
That's
especially
chief among
that.
them.
Oh, Christ. Welcome to DeRazzled, the podcast that takes award-winning worst films and fixes them. I'm host Jack Culbertson, and here to suffer alongside me, as always, is Joe Nealis.
Hello.
Today we're going to be doing something a little different. Today we'll be covering what many consider to be the best, worst movie of all time,
Yes.
Troll 2.
Now, this is definitely not in the normal purview of our work. I guess we can consider this like a second unit kind of deal because of that, but I don't know, somewhere in between, just because the Razzies do not go after
we'll get to that.
indie films specifically.
I was gonna...
No, this one I don't know if you would call it an indie film because it is an MGM film.
It has like studio backing.
So it has weird studio backing, but it's also like, I don't know, like they
might have picked it up for distribution.
That might just be it.
However, unlike other films we've covered that have won Worst Picture at the Razzies, or at least been nominated. We've done Nothing But Trouble, which was nominated.
Yes.
Troll 2 slipped by unnoticed. So why are we covering it? 2 reasons. We wanted to cover a spooky movie for spooky season.
Yes.
And like, we're a bad movie podcast. Like, how could we not cover this at some point?
Seriously, it's too iconic for us not to talk about in some capacity.
Yes. So that said, we will not be fixing Troll 2 as we have with previous movies.
No, there's no doing that.
No, we'll be adapting it.
Aha!
Imagine, if you will, that Troll 2 is not only a terrible Italian-American made film from the early 90s, but a beloved children's story handed down generation to generation. Imagine, if you will, it's 1952, and this story has landed on the desk of one Mr. Walt Disney, a man with a penchant for taking fairy tales and spinning them into animated gold. Imagine, if you will, Walt Disney made Troll 2. Joe, are you imagining it?
I'm trying. I'm struggling quite a bit. So Jack pitched this idea to me, and my mind blue screened, I think.
That's fair.
Yeah. I'm genuinely excited and terrified to see how this is going to work.
I kind of imagine it's what it's like whenever the power goes out. There's like 4 seconds after the power goes out where your eyes are telling your brain like there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's no power. But there's a communication loss. There is.
Yeah. You have to continuously remind yourself for a few seconds, like, oh no, the lights don't work.
Yeah. Would you like to guess what its IMDb score is?
God, do you think for how many times I looked at this IMDb that I would have that in my head, but I don't. I'm gonna say it's like a 1.2.
It's very generous of you. 2.9 actually.
Oh
yeah.
Wow, that's the opposite of generous of me then.
Yeah. I don't know how it got that.
Audiences are forgiving. And plus, this movie does have the cult following. Like, I'm not surprised that there are some reviews that are bumping it up.
That's true. I would probably give it a solid 1.7888.
Repeating.
Repeating. Like, it's almost a 1.78, but it's not. What do you think the general score is on Rotten Tomatoes?
Like a 3?
Pretty close.
Oh, really?
5.
5. Okay.
Yeah.
I almost said that. I need to remember to go with my gut on these things.
The audience score kind of blew me away. So what is the Rotten Tomatoes audience score?
Like a 57.
Not quite that. 44. Which is so high.
Not that far off.
No, you're not.
I was
is
within
amazing.
15.
Like, this movie is really, really bad. Like, I cannot stress to you how bad it is.
If you've never watched Troll 2, just do yourself the favor of watching it because it's free on YouTube.
Yeah,
with ads. It is a singularly terrible movie. Like, if you've like on par with The Room. Actually, it might even be in a class of its own beyond The Room. I'm not 100% sure.
I've never seen The Room. This kind of because I've been told to watch it with a friend.
Oh yeah, you have to watch it with people. Yeah, absolutely. I will watch The Room with you.
Okay, we'll make it.
We'll get Emily and Vince to come watch The Room with us as well. Emily will always watch The Room.
This movie, Troll 2, kind of was always told to me as the worst movie of all time until The Room came along, and then that kind of took the throne.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, they're definitely on their own planes, I think, above everything else in terms of best worst.
If you haven't watched Troll 2, the easiest way to kind of understand what's going on is to look up just the meme of a gentleman in glasses. What's the exact line? It's like,
oh my god!
Right, but it's like before this, like, they're gonna eat her.
And they're gonna eat
and then me. Oh my god! Yeah,
and the close up.
Yeah.
As he's screaming in this voice,
and they're he's like completely sincere in his acting and his performance, and in the dialogue is like, that was not supposed to be funny, and that's this whole movie. Like, it's meant to be a horror film. Well, maybe a horror comedy. There's some parts that the director's admitted.
Yeah. The director has stated there are parts that you're supposed to laugh at,
yes.
And, which, if again. Right along with the movie being free on YouTube, the documentary Best Worst Movie Ever is also free on YouTube. So watch the movie, then watch the documentary.
And it's its own trip.
It is its own fucking trip. Holy shit. Because it really documents not only like the perceptions that the cast and the fans have of the film, and its like rise as a cult like midnight viewing phenomenon. But it also really delves into just how much the director doesn't get that it's not a good movie. Because he specifically mentions a number of times, like, no, they laugh at the parts that they're supposed to laugh at, but they also laugh at the parts that they're not supposed to laugh at.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, these people don't know what's good.
And he's gotten kicked out of at least one of the talkbacks.
I'm not surprised. He gets kind of confrontational with the cast and crew about it. Like,
so let me attempt to summarize this movie. So while I'm going to read straight from the script. So while the summary still has my usual razzle-dazzle spice, the actual plot points and plot holes are not exaggerated.
Yeah, this is going to feel like Jack making jokes about like the Avatar going for cigarettes and not coming back, but it's actually, I swear to God, the honest to God like truth of the plot of this movie.
It's probably tame, honestly, compared to the film.
Probably.
All right. Troll 2, a movie that is not a sequel and has absolutely nothing to do with Troll 1, opens on a Peter Pan-looking motherfucker running through the woods. The omnipotent voice of Grandpa Seth narrates the scene to a yet unseen little freckled boy, Joshua, his grandson. Bargain Bin Robin Hood is being pursued by goblins. He takes a tumble only to land at in front of a gorgeous young woman, freckled, each drawn on with a makeup pencil.
Notably.
Obviously. Yeah, they're like massive freckles.
They're like smudged on. It's ridiculous.
She has like 6 freckles that take up her whole face. She feeds him a bowl of chunky pastel green pudding.
Oh, God.
Moments later, streams of green sweat pour from his hairline. We learn that the fair freckled maiden is a goblin in disguise, and the tasty snack has turned Peter Pan into a plant. Vegetarian goblins arrive to feast on a man turned chunky goo. Yeah. Grandpa Seth insists that trolls are real. Just before Joshua's mom arrives to say goodnight, we learn that Grandpa Seth has been dead for 6 months or however, and that, according to the rest of the family, Josh needs to get the fuck over it already. Next, we meet Holly, Joshua's sister, getting swole as fuck.
Yeah, she's like just lifting weights.
There's like a lifting weight mini montage. Her boyfriend, Elliot, arrives along with 3 other nerdy buds. Elliot sneaks into Holly's room. Holly accuses him of being a homosexual because he spends all of his time with Brent, Arnold, and Drew. She warns that if her father catches Elliot in her room, that he will eat the young man's testicles.
But I think the exact line is, he'll cut off your tiny nuts and eat them.
That is correct.
Yeah. That's a real line. That's an actual line that was written for this film.
That's how teenagers talked in the early 90s.
Yeah, don't you know?
American teenagers.
Yeah.
He agrees to go on vacation with Holly, leaving his bros behind, in order to prove that he is in love and heterosexual. He likes liberated young women, damn it. Something they repeat.
Yeah, he says that a couple times, I think.
We're the liberated young ladies. Still, when the fam leaves for vacation the following day, Elliot is nowhere to be seen.
For reasons.
During the drive, Joshua is made to sing Row, Row, Row Your Boat before passing out. What's that called when they start like...
It's a round.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they start, one person will start, and then after like the first part, another person will start.
Yes.
Yeah, the family does a round of row your boat until he just kind of passes out.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
He survives a nightmare where he is turned into a tree and eaten by the titular trolls that are actually goblins and not trolls. There are no trolls in this film.
There are no trolls in this fucking film.
Upon awakening, he hallucinates that Grandpa Seth is a hitchhiker alongside the road. Saying he needs to puke, he rushes to Ghost Harbinger Granddad, who tells him to stay away from Nilbog. He fades away to reveal a thirsty-looking hobo in place where Grandpa Seth had stood.
Which, like, which the guy just kind of thinks that he's being offered a ride, and then the kid just kind of bewildered gets back on the van, gets back in the van, and just like, it's just left that way. Like, no one actually offers this guy a ride. He's left there.
I think he's in like the background of one scene later when they probably just were like, "Hey, anybody who's here, stand in the background."
I wouldn't be surprised.
They arrive at Nilbog, where they house swap with a Nilbogian family that looked like they've just came from rehearsal for Fiddler on the Roof. Did you notice that? It's like they're the only people that are dressed like almost newsies, and then the rest of the people kind of like dressed like early '90s conservative.
I don't know, because like the dad's wearing like flannel, isn't he?
Maybe, but the kid's definitely wearing like a vest and like pants with cuffs. Anyway.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Tevye and Fam. I'm sticking to it, damn it.
With it. You're gonna okay. This will be the runner.
Tevye and Fam left dinner for the weary travelers. Nilbogian cuisine consists of uncooked Boston cream donuts with green icing, red apples, clear green, and clear red drink, and Joshua's warm piss. You see, Grandpa Seth appears, freezing time like Zach Morris, and tells Joshua that if they eat that shit, they'll become trees, aka goblin food.
Goblin food, yeah.
How does he do this? He pisses on the fam's food, which is very effective.
It needs to be pointed out, though, that he has like an inordinate amount of time to just walk around the table and like take in the scene as his family is frozen in time. Never really explained how that even is possible. Like,
honestly, like the look on that actor's face is my favorite because he looks like he's like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I really don't want to do this. After Joshua's father finishes scolding him about pissing on hospitality and tightening his belt to fight off hunger pains, we cut to Elliot and the boys parked just outside of Nilbog in a Winnebago. These totally normal American teens slam Mountain Dew and watch a 1983 Italian comedy called Grunt! Where a monkey is propelled into the sky by a rocket coming out of his ass.
Nice.
Yeah. Arnold goes out for a cigarette, only to see a half-naked woman, her clothes shredded, running through the woods, clearly in distress. So, of course, Arnold runs after her in hopes of having one of those sexes he's heard so much about. Instead of fucking, he too is chased by the goblins to a house in the woods where goblin druid leader Credence Lenore Gildegood,
what a name,
descendant of the Stonehengian people, I don't know, and who looks like she kind of looks like what would happen if like Victorian England had a Hot Topic.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a good descriptor.
She tricks them into drinking steaming hot goblin juice. It's really like dried ice in a cup.
Absolutely, yeah.
The unnamed girl becomes plant pulp and is consumed by the goblins, while Arnold becomes an internet meme. Then a tree. Oh my god.
Yeah, that is the oh my god moment. I will say the effect of her like melting into goo is pretty good. Like that was an effective visual and disgusting.
Yeah. I honestly like that's gross. Having the goblins shove it into their face with like fingers that don't articulate
and mouths that don't really move very well.
It's just like smearing the green on their faces. I hate it.
Honestly, like the low quality of the goblin costumes makes it so much more disturbing.
Senile Grandpa Seth's ghost appears in the wrong mirror, interrupting Holly's flash dance routine. This is amended when Josh volunteers to switch rooms with his sister. With nothing to eat in the house besides chunky milk, Joshua and his dad go in. Yeah, I know. His dad go into town for some food. At first, the town looks vacant. However, after discovering that Nilbog is goblin spelled backwards, thus validating Joshua's lunchtime water sports, he discovers a vegetarian black mass in a rundown barn. Josh spies on these evangelical vegetarians hate yucking hot dogs and bacon, literally, he's like, I'm bacon! Yeah. Only to be caught by, like, a really fucking tall priest.
Yeah, like, the guy literally just reaches his hand through the ceiling where Josh is, like, spying on them.
Like, grabs him by the shirt collar and drags him out.
I remember that whole sequence, though. He's, like, sitting there watching them, and you see his skateboard that he brought with him is, like, very clearly sitting on the very edge of a slope, and, like, that's going to fall.
Yeah.
You can see that.
Also,
we can see
you've
that.
only had a skateboard for this one scene and one scene only.
Yeah.
So the congregation tries to force feed Josh ice cream. But his father sees that and he's like, no ice cream for my son. The thing that's lacking out of this summary is that, like, the father is played to perfection. He's just like the most over the top douchey. It's really hard to describe.
Like the dad, like the character of the dad is like this kind of hard-assed, like by the book, like rule, like kind of overbearing father in a number of ways.
And the mother's kind of reminds me of like Shelley Duvall
a little bit,
especially in like The Shining. Shelley Duvall,
but
like
we also don't get a whole lot of her to like give her any kind of depth.
But like the father gets all these like angry threats, but it's goofy as shit. So we're like, you can't piss on hospitality.
I won't allow it.
He goes for it.
That's the thing, is that George Hardy is so earnest in his performance and is apparently just like such a great guy in and of himself that it's just like you can't help but like enjoy him. Yeah. Even though his character is an asshole.
Even though in the documentary you see him go to like a horror convention and he is
God,
absolutely disgusted.
Yeah. The level of judgment coming off of him is like painful.
Holly meets up with Elliot at the Winnebago. Apropos of nothing, she punches Elliot in the mouth and demands that he choose between her and his Mountain Dew half-naked snuggle buddies.
This pissed me off so much.
It makes no sense. Elliot chooses the path of the righteous, becoming a welcome part of the nuclear family, leaving behind a life of sin, Mountain Dew, and bare-chested boys. Seriously, the homosexual undertones are wild. I don't know if that was like meant to be, but
probably. Yeah. They go out of their way to make it crack about him being gay. Early in the movie. I would not be surprised if they're continuing to kind of play around with that because being gay is funny,
right?
Just like,
and I'm pretty sure they're drinking Mountain Dew just because they didn't want to have him slamming beers.
I mean, yeah,
but gross. Trying to brush the whole ice cream incident under the rug, the entire town of Nilbog throws a surprise party for the fam. Joshua runs upstairs to see if Grandpa Seth is still hanging out in the mirror. Instead, he's attacked by goblin druid leader Credence Lenore Gildegood in goblin form.
Yep.
Grandpa Seth becomes corporeal. My brain froze.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand why, considering what like the process of this movie playing out makes no goddamn sense. So the fact
the words on this paper mean nothing. So he becomes corporeal just long enough to chop off this goblin's hand.
Yep.
Which looks like plaster.
Yeah.
She fucks off home, returning to her human form, and she like oscillates between what sounds like pained screams and like a banshee orgasm.
Yeah.
While holding her bleeding stump. It might be my favorite part of the movie, honestly. Because just when you're like, okay, she's gonna stop screaming,
no, she just keeps going. She's renewed vigor.
It's the like Family Guy running gag, like just the like going too long joke. I don't know.
The Peter spraining his knee or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Grandpa Seth fires off some fire-based puns, then gives Josh a Molotov cocktail,
like you do to a child. They try to torch the goblin priest, but he catches it. Then Grandpa casually mentions that a buddy of his from hell has taught him how to throw fireballs, which he demonstrates. That sentence is not exaggerated. That's what happens.
Also, if you knew how to throw fireballs from the beginning, why
did you just do it? Why did you need a Molotov?
Right. The Molotov explodes, and when the smoke clears, we see the priest's true form, a charred goblin. Unfortunately, the town of Nilbog is strong with evil, which sends Grandpa Seth back to the Shadow Realm.
For reasons.
Pissed for like all kinds of reasons, Goblin Druid leader Credence Lenore Gildegood uses magic to become a MILF. With her, tell me I'm wrong. With her fresh cleavage and an ear of corn, she seduces Elliot's last living friend. Once the pair reach first base, a crew off screen showers them in hours-old popcorn until the boy dies a virgin.
Yep. I swear that popcorn is like being fired from cannons or something. Like the bursts of it are just...
I'm just imagining like...
What a scene.
Our friends who've worked in movie theaters with those like big garbage bags of popcorn, just like shaking it out off screen. The Nilbug sheriff tosses a sack of burgers onto the porch, then fires a shotgun in the air to trigger signs of life, which is how I will now announce my arrival to anyone's house. Fuck doorbells, give me the McDonald's dollar menu and a boomstick.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. It was a big sack too.
Yeah, a lot of sandwiches in there.
This was like $20 $1 cheeseburgers. Fam holds a seance to reach Grandpa a long distance. Instead, they get the old switcheroo, Josh for Goblin. Fam gets chased around by goblins while Josh and Grandpa lay hands upon the magic Stonehenge portal stones or some shit.
Yeah.
I got nothing. Grandpa uses the last of his ghost magic, gives Josh a book bag, then fucks right off. Surrounded, Josh escapes the goblins by opening the book bag, revealing a bologna sandwich. A vegetarian's only weakness. It's like
watching somebody else eat a bologna sandwich.
It's like 3 full packs of Oscar Mayer bologna.
Yeah. It's a lot of bologna. It's an uncomfortable, gross amount of bologna. But
he has a child mouth. He can't even...
No.
I mean, I couldn't.
No, nobody could. That's too much meat.
He takes a bite, terrifying the goblins. His family arrives. They all touch the... Yeah, I have no idea. They all touch the Stonehenge, which kills Credence, Lenore, Gildegood, and her goblins. They win with a mixture of cold cuts and the power of goodness, which is something they actually say. They won with the power of goodness.
I think they did actually say that, didn't they?
Yeah.
God damn it.
After an awkward drive home, everyone goes their separate ways except for Joshua and his mother. She removes an apple from the refrigerator, eats it, takes a shower, then turns into plant goo, or more accurately, Nickelodeon gack with mozzarella balls for tits and sculpted cheese nipples.
That was the thing. So we watched that girl early in the movie just completely dissolve into goop that is then eaten by the goblins. Why is his mom's torso still like a part of it? It's clearly like a mannequin body just covered in this goop just so they could get some boobs in there for like whatever reason.
There were no boobs at any other point in the movie.
No, it was just right then. And why?
I guess we got some cleavage, but it's fine.
Yeah, but that's... Like,
and she is not a sexual creature either.
Wait until the end of the film to do that with the main character's mom. It's just
when he goes in the bathroom and he opens the shower and it's like covered in goo. I was like, actually, that was kind of effective.
Yeah, you could have stopped there. You could have
stopped there, but instead he has to come downstairs too. And how did she get there? It doesn't matter. I got one line left. Josh screams at the sight of his nude mother. Goblins devouring her like the cougar-flavored delicacy she is. The end.
Ugh.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of Act 1. Bless you. How are we feeling about Troll 2?
Oh, I mean, it feels so much worse when you just say what happened, because it just really emphasizes like how little reason there is for anything, and also just makes it really easy to like kind of gloss over points, because like we completely skipped one of the friends even in that description, because he's
like a shopkeeper.
He ends up going to a general store and asking for food, and like and all they can give him is this chunky weird milk. Yeah,
and I think he ends up going to see, I think Arnold.
He finds Arnold in a tree planter and tries to like drag the planter out with Arnold just kind of standing there, and it's like, this is ridiculous. It is a spectacle to behold, though. It really.
So like, unlike Rocky Horror, where I happily watch it every year, this is being they're trying to make that happen with this as well. Or like, look, you can watch Troll 2 every Halloween. I'm like, I don't ever want to see it again. I watched it twice. I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like I would watch it with friends. Like, it's. Like, again, it's on a similar plane for me as The Room. Like, I'm not going to watch this by myself. If I could
watch Rocky Horror by myself.
Maybe.
I have and I will again.
Fair enough. But like I'm not going to watch this by myself. I would prefer not to pay to watch it,
which is great. Thank you, YouTube.
Yeah, thanks, YouTube. But it's it's definitely worth watching with like the right group of people so that you can all like enjoy the spectacle together. Because I mean that's the best thing about bad movies.
You should watch it at least once.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Great. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Disney half of this adventure.
Good
so
Lord.
Hang in there. Get yourself some.
I want to say popcorn, but also maybe not popcorn.
Maybe
we
not
already
popcorn.
saw what happened with that.
Your clear red drink.
No, no.
Enjoy your red drink.
Enjoy your red drink. We'll see. We'll be back in a moment.
And welcome back. So we talked about what Goblin. I wish.
It would make more fucking sense.
Goblin 2, even Goblin 2 would have been better than Troll 2.
Even if there's not a Goblin 1, it's fine. Like
that said, like, and I'm kind of surprised nobody said this during the documentary, but there's a Italian horror film called Zombie 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which and I could be completely wrong, so let me know, horror fans. So when I think it was the original Dawn of the Dead came out in 1978, it was released in Italy as Zombie.
Okay.
So when they made the Italian-made film, I think it was Fulci again. It just keeps coming up today.
He does.
He made his own movie, Zombie. They just called it Zombie 2 in Italy.
Okay.
Which is maybe more difficult, confusing because we called it just Zombie over here.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
just the levels of translation and error.
And it's Zombie
bonkers.
like no E at the end.
No, it's Final Fantasy IV, not Final Fantasy II.
Speaking of, wow, overcomplicating things. I think it was like Final Fantasy III was actually Final Fantasy VI.
Yep.
And then Final Fantasy II in the United States was 4.
Yep. Yeah.
And I love them all. So yeah, like it doesn't make sense, but it also sure.
Fine. Like I'll take it because at least I can track how that happened.
Yes.
This, however,
it has nothing to do with Troll.
Nothing. And like the cast and everyone like talk about that whenever they go on their to viewings and to conventions and stuff. They talk about like, oh no, it's not related to Troll 1 at all.
They address it to the director. Like somebody in the audience like does a Q&A and they ask the director, they're like, there are no trolls in Troll 2. And like,
why is it called Troll 2?
A translator's like talking to him and he's like, you're stupid. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't understand
you don't
anything.
understand anything.
Yeah.
Like that's not an answer, bud. But now we're going to talk about something much, much nicer. The wonderful world of Disney.
So yeah, let's walk me through like your approach here.
Yeah. So this is a lot of pages, but it's not. It's a bunch of lists.
I can see it. Yeah, this is mostly lists. It sounds like it's going to be a lot in terms of like actual paper and script. It's not.
So I broke up and they're like Disney historians, so I'm going to bastardize it in comparison to like what they would have done. But like
sure.
Making it like simplifying it for our audience and us. You can break the Disney animated films down into eras, right?
Uh-huh.
So the first one would be like the Golden Era, and that starts with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and ends with Bambi, which was in 1942. And that is Walt Disney basically reinventing how animation's made. Like, I cannot stress to you how gorgeous those movies are, especially compared to, I mean, there were no other animated movies.
I mean, Snow White was the first animated feature, like literally.
As far as I'm aware, there might have been some like foreign ones I'm not aware of, but like
okay, fair. That's
as far as I know, first animated feature. Everything else before that were like little short cartoons that would play in front of a feature film, a live action film, before you would see the film.
Pixar shorts before there were Pixar shorts.
Right. He almost bankrupted Disney to make this movie. And like they had like pry it out of his hands because he was still like tinkering with it.
Yeah.
Up till it being released.
He was very hands-on with it, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. These earlier ones, he really was. That's like Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and then Bambi.
Fantasia in particular was like his baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it bombed.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Also terrified me as a child.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The was it Right the Spring or whatever? The dinosaurs dying.
Yeah, the dinosaurs dying,
Yeah.
and like the giant
Chernobog.
Chernobog.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah. The demon segment with Chernobog. I think it's a Russian monster.
Something like that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Anyway.
Yeah, we're getting beside ourselves here a little bit.
So like amazing stuff. They invented new machines. You can in Snow White specifically, you have the first plate you can see like the trees, and then there's like a second plate where you can see like the water, and then there's like a third plate that has like the action. You have like the house and stuff. Except for like honestly, like all the jokey shit, they don't have it. All the other stuff, they have like those multiple there's depth to it.
Huh.
Like when the seven dwarves are like, we gotta wash our hands. Do.
Yep.
I'm like, this feels like a cartoon that would go in front of a movie.
Sure.
Whereas the stuff with like her evil stepmother, her and the huntsman, like that stuff is really gorgeous. Yeah. Anyway, second era. It's the wartime era. So that's between 1942 and 1949, and that would have been World War II, which again almost destroyed the Disney company.
Yep.
They were rationing film and a bunch of other things that they needed to make movies. There were animators that were drafted.
Sure.
So the way that Disney was saved was through propaganda.
Yep.
The American government asked Disney if he would make movies that promoted South America being our friend. Because
I didn't know that's where it started. Okay.
Yes. The United States government was concerned that South America might become communist. So like, okay, we're going to make, because like nobody in the United States really had any idea about anything about South America.
Yep.
So they made two kinds of films during this period. They made movies that promoted South America, and they made I guess like anthology pieces. It's just like, here's a musical number from this and this and this and this. We're going to combine it together and make a feature.
Yeah.
So you get, the one I watch all the time as a kid. It's called The Three Caviaros.
Yeah.
Which was like, it was cool. It was also a bunch of shorts, but it had like Donald Duck, and there was like a rooster and a parrot.
Yes.
I think it was like Cuban.
I think I just watched that recently, or no, actually, I think Becca and her friends were watching that, and then I got back from work at the tail end of it. But
do you know how to say this? Because I don't want to screw it up.
Let me see. Saludos amigos.
Yeah, that was the first one they did. I haven't seen that one. And then for the kind of anthology pieces, you have like Melody Time, Fun and Fancy Free. I haven't seen this era. I know like nothing about. I've seen like The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Oh yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I guess they were both supposed to be features at one point, and then they're like, we don't have the money or resources, so like shrink them and we're gonna slap them together.
Like you do. Yeah, see, when I think about like Disney's propaganda era, like my mind immediately jumps to that Donald Duck short. That like, what makes a Nazi?
Yeah, and I'm like, the reason Disney survived is because it was getting paid by the government.
Oh yeah,
so I'm sure that's there as well. But as far as like the full length features, and it's weird because like Walt Disney, he was a man of his time, which is to say he was racist.
Yep.
But him going to South America and experiencing other cultures firsthand, he was not racist towards South America.
Huh.
It's weird, almost like exposure to other cultures kind of like is enlightening. And
it's funny how that works, huh?
Yeah.
What was that thing Mark Twain said?
Milk, lemonade, around the...
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Mark Twain, noted pee pee poo poo joke man.
Honestly. So after that, you get the Silver Era. Things are back to normal. Things are going really well in the United States. It became more musical focused. Mm-hmm. It starts with Cinderella and it ends with Jungle Book. And this is also...
Oh, Jungle Book.
Yeah.
God, I love Jungle Book.
These are the last of Walt's movies.
Yeah.
Before he passed. These are the movies I was raised on before you get to the Renaissance.
Yeah.
So it's Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp. I didn't really watch that much as a kid.
Lady and the Tramp was that era?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was later for some reason. Okay.
101 Dalmatians.
Excellent.
Sword in the Stone was their stinker.
I actually liked that. I watched that just recently, and I can see how it wouldn't have maybe done well all the time, but I love it.
I watched it. I forget who I've talked to about this, but like Arthurian Legend bores the piss out of me. I don't know why. Like I think we talked about it because we saw Green Knight, and I was like, I don't understand anything about this.
Yeah.
I just remember Merlin, and I think there's some like magic fucking squirrels,
something like that. Yeah.
And then the Jungle Book. Like any of those, you can see there's a lot of music in it. They went back to like innovations, like trying to like reinvent how they did film, how they painted film. You especially with 100 Wild Animations, it's not rotoscope, but it's like rotoscope.
Really?
Where they have, they were, if you look at it, you can see that the artist drew in pencil, right? And then they inked, or they put the color right on top of the pencil, so you're actually seeing. You're skipping the inker phase.
Right. Yeah, because I know like there are a bunch of movies in that era where you can see a lot of those pencil lines coming through in the finished product.
Which I love.
I've always enjoyed that. It's just such a cool like process artifact to see come through. It almost adds to the magic for me. It's just like knowing like, oh no, somebody really made that happen. Like,
and I've seen more recent not video releases, but like home releases have tried to like scale back on that, like erase a little bit. I'm like, don't, please. Or at least like if you have to do that, can you give me like the option of seeing the original version?
For real. Take a note on that one, Mr. Lucas.
Yeah.
It's way too late for this. I understand you have been lost, but
yeah.
I just want my unfucked around with Star Wars.
Can you imagine? I can't.
I can't at this point. It's far too late.
So we'll breeze through these next two eras real quick because we're not really going to talk about them too much. But you have the Bronze Era from 1970 to 77. That's Walt has died. The experienced animators, like I think they're called like the 10 old men or the 8 old men. They were like the holy council of animators who like were there from the start. They either start retiring or they also pass off. So in order to make money, they started taking shortcuts. And this is also when they started focusing on those live action films.
Right. So this is when you have your young Kurt Russell.
Yes. And fuck, I forgot one gag.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, we're gonna do it right now.
Yes, Mr. Disney.
When I'm gone, tell them my body's frozen in a refrigerator. That shit's gonna be fucking hilarious. Anyway, I'm a professional. This is like Aristocats, Robin Hood.
Also deeply racist.
Aristocats?
At least that one scene.
I've only seen it like once.
The Everybody Wants to Be a Cat musical number.
I hate that song, yeah.
Yeah, there was the really it just came to you.
Mind.
Yeah.
You have Winnie the Pooh, or The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Love it.
And The Rescuers, which I really like.
I enjoyed The Rescuers.
It very much has a feel of that era. Also, the only movie that actually had nudity in it.
Wait, what?
There's all those rumors that like animators would sneak nudity into a Disney movie.
Oh, right. Yeah, all the stories about how like there's like dicks in the background of like, Little Mermaid and stuff like that.
None of that's true.
Of course. Yeah.
There are only 2 incidences that people have been like, oh, that's what that is.
And this is one. The
So
Rescuers is one of them?
Yes. There's a scene where they're on top of the seagull pelican. I think seagull.
He's a seagull, yeah.
And he's going down the side of the roof to gain speed so he can fly. And they're zipping past the skyscraper windows. And in one of the windows, there's a little tiny naked woman. It's like a little...
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And they didn't catch it for a while. Like, I think the very first video release, which is the one I watched, like, I paused it, I'm like... Yeah, that is a very, very tiny naked woman. You see her like breasts and that's it, but it's there.
Huh.
And then the cover of Little Mermaid, the original VHS cover, there's definitely a wiener in there. It's definitely like that's a penis and not a tower.
Right, but not in the actual film itself.
No. So that's what that era shall be remembered for. That 0.5 seconds of nudity.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get the Dark Age. Those last 5 movies I've talked about, those were still, Walt had still like had ideas about them, or like had talked like, I wanted to do this with Robin Hood, or I want to do this with Winnie the Pooh. They're out of his ideas.
Yep.
There's a lot of infighting over like who's in control of the company, and the animation studio specifically does not have the support of
the higher ups.
So you get like the Fox and the Hound, Black Cauldron, the Great Mouse Detective, and then Oliver and Company.
I love the Great Mouse Detective, and not just because it came out the year I was born. Like my sister and I would watch that all the fucking time. Like that is one of those
it
VHSs. Radigan's fucking terrifying toward the end there.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I know. I greatly enjoy that movie.
I do want to watch it again, but it was scary. Like it was also one of the first animated movies to incorporate CGI. Big Ben.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then Oliver and Company, it is part of the Dark Age, but the people that would go on to create the Renaissance had started to like fiddle with it.
Well, some of them worked on
Great Mouse
Detective as well. Like that was kind of like the beginning of the end of the Dark Ages. There, it's like that was where the spark started to come back. Like, oh, there's something to these movies.
Yeah.
Even though like you go back and you watch some of those, and like they're like they I don't think they deserve some of the derision that they got.
Like I haven't watched The Fox and the Hound in a long time.
It was enjoyable,
but I remember like it's sad as hell. But
oh yeah,
the Black Cauldron is the one that's like that's the mark.
That's
which technically like they had been hired at that point, but that movie was done and they hated it. I think like 10-15 minutes were cut off the front of it.
Really?
It was too scary.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I've only watched it once and I was like, yeah, it's a little too dark for a Disney movie.
Okay.
I think Roy Disney specifically was like, this is garbage.
I wouldn't be surprised. So, but then moving on from that, then we have the Renaissance.
Yes. So that's when you have Mike Eisner kind of becoming in charge. Along with Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Katzenberg is a part of it at this point. Yeah, this is pre DreamWorks.
Yeah. Yes. And they put out
what a Jesus. Go on.
Yeah, I don't actually know much about. I know a lot about Mike Eisner. I don't know a whole lot about Jeff Katzenberg other than they ended up hating each other.
Yep.
Jeffrey Katzenberg was promised a position once that person who currently held it either retired or what actually happened is he died in a helicopter accident.
Yeah.
And Mike Eisner didn't give it to him.
Yep.
So for our purposes, he was in charge of the animation department, and that's when you get The Little Mermaid, The Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King,
my favorite,
Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Mulan, and Tarzan. It's a long period.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of excellent fucking movies in there,
and even the ones that are kind of subpar still have their merit.
Yeah, they still have their charms.
But that's when they brought in Broadway writers.
Yep.
They were more character driven, and like Eisner had his hands in the pies.
He was heavily involved. Yeah.
There was I know there were a lot of animation. What's the word I'm looking for? Not inventions, but
innovations.
Yeah. I just don't know what they were exactly. I know there's like more CGI. Like I remember watching
increased use of computers as opposed to like pen and paper or pencil and paper.
Which it's weird because maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I remember watching The Great Mouse Detective and I didn't notice CGI at all.
No, I had no idea.
Beauty and the Beast. I'm like, oh yeah.
There are moments of that where it's just like, oh yeah, no, this is absolutely done with a computer.
Same thing with Aladdin though. I didn't notice really any CGI. Maybe a little bit with the
early on with like the Cave of Wonders, like just the giant like panther head, whatever. Like, that's pretty obvious. But a lot outside of that is like not obvious at all. I don't think.
Yeah. So after that, you get to the experimental era.
Mm-hmm.
God, there's so much history between Disney, Pixar, Apple, and DreamWorks that like we could do an entire series on.
Lord.
That. There's a great book I've been reading called, I think it's just called Disney War, and it covers.
Good title.
Yeah, it covers like Mike Eisner's first day in office until like all the shit that happened. Because the reason Pixar even exists is because who's the guy? Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yeah.
Gave them money to go.
Yeah.
I believe in what you're doing. Here's a bunch of monies. I want to see what you do with it. And that's how Pixar was created. And Disney had a deal with Pixar to make X number of movies, and then they didn't like re-up or whatever. Or Pixar was just like, nah, you guys, like they wanted Pixar to do a bunch of sequels like Toy Story and Cars, and none of that ever happened because they didn't get bought by Pixar at any point. Or they didn't get bought by Disney. I'm lying.
I was gonna say like, what? Huh?
No, there was a
brain.
No, there's a period where like Pixar and Disney split, and Pixar was doing something.
Yeah,
and then they were eventually. It wasn't that long ago, because then you got like a fuck ton of Cars and Toy Stories and
fucking Cars.
They actually, because I think it was, I don't know. I think it might have been after Eisner left that they brought on
Bob Iger.
Well, yes, but Lasseter.
Oh, that's when John Lasseter got brought into Pixar.
They brought him into Disney animation.
Okay.
Until I think he was the most recent dude. Honestly, I think he was part of the revival period until it came out that he was being a naughty boy. So anyway, you get the experimental period. That's where you got like Fantasia 2000, Dinosaur, The Emperor's New Groove, which is actually pretty cool.
I love The Emperor's New Groove. That movie rules.
And I'll stand by Atlantis: The Lost Empire too.
I also
cool.
Yes. That movie's incredible.
And Lilo and Stitch also good, but then you have like Treasure Planet, Brother Bear, Home on the Range.
Treasure Planet I will also stand by.
I've never seen that one.
Yeah, no, I've watched it a couple of times in the past year or so, and it is definitely worth it. This
era is categorized by them focusing more on tech than story.
That's, I think, a fair characterization.
And then we're not dealing with that era, but we're not going to deal with this next one at all either. And that we're currently in the revival era. So that's like we're now comfortable with CGI. We're not just like focusing on that solely. We can do that, but they also brought in like former musical elements, and you get like The Princess and the Frog, Tangled, Winnie the Pooh, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Big Hero 6, Moana, Zootopia, Ralph Breaks the Internet, which I've not seen.
It's not good. I love Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah. Wreck-It Ralph is absolutely fantastic. That sequel's bad. It's just not good.
So those are the eras. I'm going to now read, to carry us out of Act 2, I'm going to kind of read us how this all ties together.
Okay.
We're going to focus mainly on the ages where Walt was alive, with a bit of the Renaissance, because that's when you and I were growing up.
And that's also about on par with where this movie came out.
Yes, yeah. That is because the tropes of the Disney princesses differ greatly between the Golden/Silver Age and the Renaissance Age.
Absolutely.
I wanted to watch one from each of the eras, so I watched Snow White again. I watched Cinderella again. I didn't get a chance to watch Little Mermaid, but that one's like, I remember that one pretty well.
Sure.
The most obvious difference is that the Walt era princesses were the protagonist of their story. That's Snow White, Cinderella, Aurora, but incredibly passive ones, literally taking a nap and waiting to be saved.
Yep.
The princesses of the Renaissance age were active protagonists, kicking ass, sometimes winning the day. Snow White and Cinderella are victims of their surroundings. Ariel chooses to fuck around with Ursula.
Accurate.
Yeah. Mulan joins the army. Jasmine didn't choose her situation, but she's not about that shit either. Like,
no.
She's definitely like, nope, this isn't happening because I refuse.
She fights back. Yeah.
Other tropes include being trapped somewhere miserable, being one with nature. People are jealous of your beauty. This one specifically we're going to talk about a lot. The streamlined story, which is like keeping that shit simple.
Yes. That's a must.
Yeah, you have like rags to riches stories, and then you have like princesses are dainty, fragile things. So we're going to take these like principles, these tropes of the Disney era, and make Disney's Troll 2.
And we will treat you to that bit of noise in just a moment here.
Welcome back to DeRazzled. We're going to take Troll 2 and do what Walt always intended to do.
Ever since he laid that secret on little baby Kurt Russell.
The actual last words was, make a Troll 2. Oh boy. So we're going to take Troll 2 and Disney-fy it. And not Trolls 2, which is what I've been
proud of you. You have not said Trolls 2 once this entire time.
We had that very confusing text conversation where I was like, oh, let's do Trolls 2. And you're like, what? Why?
Yeah. No, you said Trolls 2 at first. And I was like, what are you talking about? No, the one with Justin Timberlake and Anna Kendrick and the McElroy brothers? Like,
so
what?
Confused. Is that supposed to be based on those like little rubber?
Yeah, it's the little like troll. Yeah, it's little troll dolls with the gem belly buttons.
I hated those.
Yeah, no. In these, they are pop musicians.
Well,
song time and happiness.
People are gonna have like years from now, when archaeologists are like digging through our shit to try to figure out our cultures, and they find these fucking collections of like TY Beanie Babies and goddamn trolls, they're gonna be like, so what did they worship?
Yes, actually.
Yeah, actually, kind of. God.
Insert meme of couple splitting up their TY Beanie Baby collection at their divorce proceedings here.
Can you imagine being the lawyer that day?
Oh my God.
Scott, our other part of our Ramming Speed company, when he first moved out to Portland, he would do, what are those, like the pre-trial stuff?
Deposition.
That's what it is. Yeah. He would like record the depositions, and he's like, they were the most boring things in the entire world, except for like every once in a while he'd be like, so this happened. But can you imagine being like the guy at the deposition recording this, being like,
wait, what?
Wait, what? You're gonna split these.
Can I chime in for a second? You're what?
That is video I take home with me. That we're keeping. This is for the personal collection. All right. So now that we have an understanding of Troll 2 and Disney, let's create Disney's Troll 2. So the way I didn't know how to approach this for a long time. I was like, like, how do I take the Disney formula and like cram it up, like make the turducken that is Troll 2, Disney Troll 2. And then I remembered something I had as a kid, which was a VHS copy of Disney's Christmas Carol.
Okay.
Which took the I'm forgetting his name. What's Dickens?
Charles Dickens.
Yeah. Christmas Carol, Scrooge and Bob Cratchit, but recast them with Disney characters.
Yeah.
So you had like Scrooge McDuck was obviously Ebenezer Scrooge.
Right.
Goofy was fucking Jacob Marley.
He was. Yeah. That's right.
And Mickey was Bob Cratchit.
Mickey was Cratchit. Yeah, I remember that. Was it Bluto one of the ghosts or something?
I think that's Pete, right?
Pete. That's what I'm thinking.
It's basically Bluto as a dog. He was the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. Yeah. No, wait, was it?
Christmas Past,
Was it Christmas Past? I think you may be right.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it since I was
because Christmas Yet to Come was still death.
It was just still
I'm
still
pretty
death.
sure.
Yeah. Jeez. So I took that and I was like, okay, so we're gonna almost like Muppet Christmas Carol this, but with Disney. So here's the cast. Here's the recreated cast. So we're gonna start with Josh, our lead. Originally I was like, maybe I'll just make him like he'll be like one of the only live action characters, kind of like with Muppets.
Sure.
But instead I was like, but what about Pinocchio?
What about Pinocchio?
Oh, I also gave myself the stipulation that since Walt is making this, I can't use anybody after he passed. So like, they're only Disney characters.
Okay, so this is something that like so you would pitch the idea of this being like a folkloric thing that's just been passed down through the ages. Yeah. So like this Cinderella. Is like a dream project of Walt's that he had in the works and had very clear guidelines for how he wanted it done. So even though this is coming out in 90, they're adhering to those standards for Walt.
Yes.
Okay.
So Pinocchio, Josh.
Okay.
Now there's a couple of original characters.
Okay.
Because we had to make the Disney formula, and in the Disney formula, there are much more. There are animal pets, like animal sidekicks.
Yeah, of course.
So for Josh, I created Fugly the Friendly Goblin. Specifically, so we didn't mention this in the outline, but there's only like 2, maybe 3 kinds of masks that all the goblins wear. There's like the actual like
I know exactly what fucking goblin you're talking about.
How could you not? Because there's like the actual like scary looking goblin,
and there's the one with the giant
eyes that just looked like it saw like, I don't know, something incredible behind the dumpster. Like it could do that. So
I didn't know people could bend that way.
Really ugly. So that is Fugly the Friendly Goblin. Who is,
and that's named by Michael Eisner out of his ire for having to continue with this fucking project.
Specifically embodied by the White Rabbit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted that manic energy, kind of nervous energy. There's a bunch of other characters in like the Renaissance era that would have been better. Like Pain and Panic kind of have that vibe.
Pain and Panic. I mean, especially you get a Bobcat Goldthwait in there voicing this character.
But like White Rabbit's kind of like the proto version of that.
Oh yeah.
For Michael, Joshua's father, you have Donald. And for Diana, Josh's mom, you have Goofy in drag. I don't know if I mentioned this, but like Goofy is my of like the
Gorsh. Grandpa Seth's been dead for 6 months. Just
so of like the original characters, Disney characters, like Goofy's by far my favorite.
He's great.
They used to do these like almost like how-to videos with Goofy, which like now and they had like a 1960s kind of like deep voice to man, like, and now we're gonna enjoy skiing.
Yep.
And Goofy would just like fuck it up.
Of course he
loved it. And then he like the thing with Goofy is he knows when he fucks up and he just like smiles really big like, oh no.
Well, there I go again.
God, I love him. So he's gonna be playing the part of the mom. For the sister, I had a really hard time for the sister because these are like the golden and silver age, so like there aren't that many female characters to begin with.
Sure.
So I went with and this is how I know The Parent Trap was a Disney movie. I went for both twins. They're just switching out between scenes. Both played by Haley Mills.
Haley Mills. Okay.
Yeah. And then for Grandpa Seth, I originally was if it's Pinocchio, so we'll go with Geppetto.
Geppetto feels like it would make sense,
right? But because of the kind of like forgetfulness and general like not understanding how things should go, I went with Merlin.
Ooh. Okay, Merlin's fun.
Yeah. I think I just like.
I think that also lends a little bit to his like I can do batshit stupid things that don't make any goddamn sense in this world.
Yeah, I wasn't necessary, but like that's for our main villain, Credence Lenore Gildegood. I went with Corella.
That works.
Corella, except for when she turns into a MILF, then it's Maleficent.
I knew you were going to say that. Okay, yeah.
Right, because Corella is pretty gross. But Maleficent, you get it.
All that smoke.
Yeah.
Just that acrid green smoke.
And if I could have, it would have been Yzma. Like it has like a big Yzma energy to her. She also gets a Disney sidekick, animal sidekick. I renamed you. Shit. Originally I had given the name Piggly Wiggly as a pig, but I think I changed it in this last draft.
Okay.
Shit. What did I change it to? Schnitzel. Schnitzel is a German pig.
Schnitzel.
Schnitzel. Oh. Played by the King from Alice in Wonderland. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little biased as far as that movie goes. One of my favorites. And then I also made the stipulation I have to use the three big ones, right? Mm-hmm. Donald, Goofy, and Mickey.
And Mickey, yeah.
And the only like other part that was left was the sheriff.
So Mickey's the sheriff?
Mickey's the sheriff. Like, oh,
there are sandwiches in
this
bag.
Yourself.
Make it a lot easier on yourself if you eat these.
Who's in the movie called Sheriff Gene Freak.
Yeah, his name is Gene Freak. We didn't talk about that. The names of these characters are wild.
So that's who Mickey will be. Then we have the evil priest, who looks like what's the country singer actor? He was in Amityville Horror, the original, and in Blade.
I have no idea.
Anyway, remember the time in our American history, when like truck driving music was in like big rigs?
Yeah.
That was a thing everyone was really into for a minute.
I vaguely remember.
He looks like one of those singers.
Okay.
So I went as close as I could get. Oh God, I can see his face. Anyway, I went with Pete for the evil priest.
Pete for the evil priest.
Yeah.
Okay, I buy that.
Yeah,
it's killing me. I gotta know who this fucking guy is you're talking about.
I'm so mad.
What did you say he was in?
He was in Blade as Wesker, something like that. That's the first. I think the first two movies actually.
Chris Christopherson?
Yes, Chris Christopherson.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. I'm like, I know it's like a name that like.
Okay, I'm glad we figured that out.
Yeah,
oh
I feel
my God.
So the priest kind of reminded me of like a younger Chris Christopherson.
Okay. Yeah, I can see where you get that
and now
from.
Pete's going to have to play Chris Christopherson playing an evil priest.
Yes, good.
I believe you can do it, Pete. And then our last two characters, we had the Shopkeepers. Again, we didn't really talk about too much, which I've decided to have that split into two characters, played by both the March Hare and the Mad Hatter. They're both the shop owners at the same time.
I like that.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun back and forth there.
Like, I just need some milk and eggs, and you just have those two.
Making it impossible.
And I'm sure the Dormouse is there too.
Yeah, he's just fucking around there somewhere.
And then for the goblins, I like, of course, I went with the 7 dwarves.
Yeah,
like it's just the 7 dwarves
eating people who turn to plants. Yeah,
right.
What about the boys?
I was like, I actually have the boys left. So Elliot's the main boy, right?
Yeah.
He's the one that's after Holly. So this is the other human character.
Okay.
Which I went with Baby Kurt Russell.
Okay, I knew you were going to incorporate him somewhere, so that makes sense.
Absolutely. Then Arnold, who was the one that turned into a tree.
He's the, oh my God!
Yeah. That's Prince Philip, who's from Sleeping Beauty.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the like woman that's there for a hot second running through the woods, Snow White.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that goes to the grocery store, Drew, the one that goes to the grocery store gets chunky milk.
Yep.
Prince Charming, which is Cinderella.
Okay.
I think you see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And then Brent, who was the popcorn victim, is the prince from Snow White. And like, they're all the same characters. And I based them.
They're all kind of copy paste. Yeah.
Their hair color is different.
That's it. Yeah.
However, and I've had this argument before, Prince Philip was the best of those OG princes.
Okay.
Because he danced with her.
He did
actually like have a relationship with Aurora before.
A relationship.
Right.
We're using that term loosely, but
I mean,
there was at least prior interaction. There was something.
The prince literally was the Prince Charming and Cinderella, which I just rewatched. There is a point where you're like, I don't know what they're talking about because we're experiencing it through the other characters. Right. They're dancing, like maybe they're having a very deep conversation. They connect really well. But the prince from Snow White has no excuse. Like, they just both sang into a well, and he's like, "You're hot, 14-year-old," and she's like, "I'll see you tomorrow," and he's like, "You betcha." So I gave Prince Philip the most active of the 3 dudes because he's also the most active of the 3.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
That was my logic. Great.
All right, so let's get into how this works.
All right, so here we go. And this is more of a pitch rather than our full stories that we usually do.
Right. We can't. Again, we're not changing a lot about how this works.
No.
This is essentially just how would this idea be pitched if it were a Disney adaptation? So,
not to derail it again and again and again. If this were going to be like a full rewrite, I would make it about Joshua's grieving process with his grandfather.
Sure.
But we're not doing that. All right.
So sell me on this.
All right. So we open on a pearly white tome with this is live action. With the Troll 2 VHS cover embossed in gold. Remember, I was like, what the fuck is that word? And
yeah, I was wondering why you asked me what the fuck the word for embossing was. Well,
then they were like laying beside each other trying to like figure out this fucking word. I'm like, Joe's gonna know what it is. Yeah, so like I've watched a bunch of the movies recently. Like, a lot of the older ones have like the storybook that'll open up.
Classic.
Like, the VHS cover for Troll 2 is actually pretty cool.
It is. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So like that, but on like a pearly white tome, with like gold trim. And it opens by itself, and it flips to the first page.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, I was like, once upon a time, and then you see like a watercolor of trolls peeking through shrubbery. And while this is happening, I wrote it down as a choir of wasps, but I mean like white Anglo-Saxon.
Oh, gotcha. Cross. Okay, all caps wasps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not a chorus of wasps. It's like it's probably more appropriate. They're singing like a melodic song about those sneaky little goblins. So like, as we move into the book, we have the voiceover from Grandpa Merlin, who tells the legend of goblins turning children into trees so they can be milked for their boy sap. Sorry,
I never want you to use the phrase "boy sap" again,
especially right before you're going to take a drink.
Right, you wanted a spit take.
I saw you taking a drink, and like, I'm not going to stop now, so I'm preparing myself to get sprayed.
Oh my God!
God,
boy sap, Jesus Christ.
We'll get more into it. Don't you worry.
I know.
Scared, Josh talks to the reflection of his grandpa in the mirror. He is caught doing so by his father, played by Fred McMurray. He was in a couple live-action Disney movies. I know him more from his like serious stuff. He was in Double Indemnity.
Okay.
He's a pretty good actor. But also he's a 70s dad, 60s, 70s dad, so he has like no sympathy for his son. So Fred McMurray tells him to go to bed, turning out the light as he goes. Holly, who is super fucking shredded in this, argues with her. I'm calling them suitors at the window.
Okay.
So not just Elliot wants her, but all the princes.
Okay.
Plus Kurt Russell. They're all at the window.
The other Kurt Russell, like little baby Kurt Russell, is just like friends with all these princes.
I originally was going to have them be like his bros to like try to help him get it in with Holly. I hate myself.
Oh my God, his wingmen.
Yeah, but then I was like, ew,
wing boys. This is gross.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing to think about.
But because of where the story goes, I changed it anyway.
Sure.
So the suitors, 3 hunky princes and a charming Kurt Russell, vie for her affections. She tells them to fuck off. She doesn't need saving from no damned prince. Holly's father bursts in, shouting that he'll eat the balls of any boy he catches talking to his daughter. They scatter.
I hate that line somewhat less if it's actually coming from the dad.
Yeah.
Just
right?
You boys get the fuck out of here. I'll eat your tiny little balls.
And I just imagine like scattering with like a thing of smoke.
I made it. It's just a Kurt Russell shaped smoke cloud.
Yeah.
Just...
Oh shit. So she was told to go to bed. And here's where we get the I Want song, right?
Yeah.
Like in every music.
There has to be an I Want song.
So Josh wants his grandpa back, or more importantly, a family that accepts him for who he is, which is a weird little 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Holly wants a man who is interested in more than her rippling pectorals and six-pack. While they're singing, we get intercut images of their father dancing with a picture of their dead mother, asking her what he should do for their out-of-control children. Because it's a Disney movie, so the mom has to be dead.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
That's why Goofy's the mom.
This is probably the biggest change I make to the story. Donald and Goofy are actually their aunt and uncle rather than their parents. That's why you have Fred McMurray and dead mom.
Okay.
Which I'll get to right now. The following morning, having suffered another sleepless night due to the children's musical numbers, Dad sends them to stay with their aunt and uncle in Latrobe, just outside of Veganvania. Like last night, I was like trying to think of any. It was just like the first thing that popped in my head.
Did you say Veganvania?
Yeah, I changed the name of the town as well.
You were like this close to Vulcanvania again.
I was like, maybe I'll just make it like the next town over from Vulcanvania. So just outside of, they live like just outside of Veganvania.
Gotcha.
In Latrobe. I thought about Tanning, but that's too close to Indiana. So in Latrobe, there Holly will be away from boys and Josh will be away from the constant reminders of his grandfather.
Okay.
In my head, the grandfather like lived with them in the house.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The children protest, but their father is firm, cramming the wailing children into the car. Hearing the cries of their beloved, the suitors give chase in their Winnebago to rescue Holly and gain her love. I love the princes in this.
I could feel their scenes being a lot of fun.
Yeah. They're all played by Chris Hemsworth. Except for Kurt Russell.
Hemsworth.
Yes.
Just
wow, I've done that every single time. Hemsworth. Aunt and uncle take the role of the evil stepparents. After hellos, Dad heads home, and Josh and Holly sit down to enjoy a meal Aunt Goofy spoons out. It's Impossible Burger. Like 6 White Castle-sized Impossible Burgers.
Damn, okay.
Yeah.
Little Impossible Sliders.
Yeah. That sounds really good.
Hell yeah, I'd get down on that.
She explains that they were dropped off by the farmers who have just recently taken over residence in Veganvania. Grandpa Merlin tells Josh they can't eat the Impossible Burgers or they'll turn into trees. So something I should mention. So the writer in the documentary Best Worst Movie Ever talks about the inspiration for this movie being her friends were all becoming like vegan around the same time.
Yeah, she says that all of her friends became vegetarian all at once, and it got on her nerves. Because that's a rational reaction to other people's dietary choices.
So in this, I wanted to make the goblins and the witch evil vegans. Like, vegans are the most evil thing in the world.
Okay.
Since it's Walt Disney and it's this era, it would be like Russians, like communists.
Yeah.
So
right along the same line.
Yeah, like replace 1950s communists with vegans.
Yeah, those are parallels, right?
Yeah.
they function the same way.
So Grandpa Merlin's like, Pinocchio, Josh, they can't eat these burgers. So Josh pisses on the impossible burgers.
Pinocchio, Josh pisses
on the impossible burgers. Uncle Donald informs him he can't piss on hospitality. He won't allow it.
He won't allow it.
No, I'm keeping that scene exactly as it.
I wish I could do Donald's voice well enough to like imitate that right now, but I'm sorry.
Some fan someday will
send us a recording of you doing that, please.
So after that, we cut to the four suitors in the Winnebago. They break into song, choreographed kind of like a bar drinking song. It would be like Gaston's song.
Yeah, that's exactly what came to mind.
Yeah. And the song is called Liberated Young Women. So they're like slamming their Mountain Dews like their beers, and they sing lyrics. So the lyrics make it clear that these men have only heard like hushed whispers of what a boob might look like. Outside the Winnebago, and aroused by the suspicious bouncing, the goblins close in. Sweating and satisfied, Prince Philip goes out for a smoke. I kept all the homoerotic undertones.
Sure.
Yeah. He spots Snow White, who is clearly not underage. Definitely not 14.
Nope.
Desperate to have the sex, Philip gives chase through the woods only to have her turn into a goblin, which he is not entirely not into. The goblins catch him and carry him away. At Goblin House, Philip suffers a polka number performed by the Rowdy Goblins. I wanted to...
A polka number?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like something along the lines of like, everybody wants to be a cat, but with polka, and it's everybody wants to be a goblin.
Okay.
And less racist.
It would have to be less racist at that point.
1952? I doubt it. I guess we're releasing this in the 90s now, you're right.
Right. Yeah, no,
slightly less racist.
It would get cleansed out by that point.
This ends abruptly when Goblin Druid Credence Corella arrives, chasing the goblins away from that poor boy. Cradling Schnitzel, her pet pig, Credence Cruella shows him the boy forest, demonstrating that so she demonstrates on a pre-captured boy how you get a boy forest, and her like pre-captured boys are the Darling boys from Peter Pan. It's Mike and John.
Oh no!
Yeah, originally I had Flounder, and I was like, no, I really don't like Flounder, which is why don't spill my water like a cat. So she feeds the boys Impossible Burgers, and they become trees. And Prince Philip, beautiful, like he belts beautifully. Oh my God! Holly asks the mirror on the wall who the fairest of them all. The face of her dead grandpa appears. She screams. He screams. Donald Quack screams. So they switch rooms.
Yep.
Grandpa tells Josh that he has to free the boys in the boy forest. If he doesn't, veganism will take over the countryside and the goblins will eat all the boys in the land. Arriving at the woods, they encounter Prince Philip as a tree, his trunk tapped, pale green gag seeping from his faucet.
Oh no.
Yeah. Terrified by the sight of a talking tree, Josh flees into the boy forest. He screams, they scream, Grandpa screams, as Josh collides with a goblin. The goblin tells him that he has nothing to fear. The other goblins call him Fugly the Friendly Goblin, which he is. He really, really is. Unlike the other goblins, he eats meat, specifically uncooked hot dogs straight from the package.
Oh, no.
Josh tells Fugly that Grandpa wants him to stop the evil veganists. Fugly agrees to help. The following morning, in light of the piss incident, the piss incident.
No, I got it.
Aunt Goofy has decided that they should all go to the new church in Veganvania, Our Lady of the Holy Quinoa. When they enter, Josh is separated from them so he may attend Sunday school while the adults go to Mass. Which includes Holly. She makes the cut somehow.
Okay.
I actually don't know what the age cut is, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
Not important.
As the sermon begins, the anti-meat rhetoric comes out. Donald wants to leave because he's not about that shit. Aunt Goofy tells Donald and Holly that they're being bigots and that they need to respect these Mormons and their religion.
You can't just go around discriminating against every Mormon you see, Donald.
Meanwhile, Prince Charming, that's Cinderella's prince, heads into town to gather protein for the remaining boys. There he meets the shopkeepers, the Mad Hare and the March Hatter. What?
You just transpose that?
Yep. the Mad Hatter and the March Hare. Woof. Disgusted by his desire for pork, they tell Charming to follow them in the back stock room where all the sausages are kept.
Yep.
It's a plot point for later. In Sunday school, Josh is surrounded by poorly disguised goblins in like their Sunday best.
Mm-hmm.
They break into a gospel song about how eating bologna is like a one-way ticket to carnivore hell, and in the unholy meat sweats. The unholy meat sweats becomes very important. With a mouthful of hot dogs, kind of like Slimer in the first Ghostbuster, Fugly peeks through the window.
Oh God!
So there's a song in Princess and the Frog, I think.
Okay.
I think he's like a voodoo bad guy.
Oh yeah.
He has a song, and I wanted to kind of be like that, but about goblins and their meat religion. I'm not a musical person. Donald, Goofy, and Holly decide it's time to go when the congregation begins chanting "Hail Satan."
Get out! Get the fuck
that's
out!
That's not even mine. That's not even my. I think Scott, when he moved to Portland, he found a. Right?
Yeah.
Do you vaguely remember the story?
I do.
They were searching for like a vegetarian joint, and like the only place they could find within walking distance was
Hail Satan.
Was Hail Satan, which is a half strip club, half foodery restaurant, is what they call them. Hail Satan! I'm imagining like the old people in Rosemary's Baby screaming like "Hail Satan" in their like high pitched old voices, but like "Hail Satan."
It hurts.
I am so sorry. However, when they try to leave, Reverend Pete pushes for them to join him and his wife for dinner. She'll want to meet the new parishioners. So in this, Pete and Credence Cruella are wed.
Okay.
So there's more of a connection than just like we just have an abundance of villains. Josh arrives back home. Fugly was sent by Grandpa to retrieve him. Once at the Mere, Grandpa Merlin tells Josh that he needs to save his family from the dinner party. He climbs out of the Mere, giving Fugly and Josh a Molotov cocktail.
Okay, so we're keeping that. Yes. That part's staying.
Yeah, like I imagine like a very like Wes Anderson scene where like all three of them are running through the woods, kind of like parallel to the camera, just like Molotov cocktail held up.
Yep.
Anyway, the three unlikely heroes jog towards Goblin House. Inside Goblin House, we learn that Credence Cruella is Reverend Pete's wife, as I said.
Yep.
She serves an assortment of vegetables that, when looked at as a whole, are clearly Prince Charming. Radishes for eyes, carrots for fingers, and a gorgeous mane of arugula. Molotovs in hand, Fugly, Josh, and Ghost Grandpa run into Kurt Russell. He's in the middle of like a love song, too.
Sure.
About Holly. They explain what they're doing and how Holly's trapped in Goblin House, and Kurt tells them that they can't just rush into Goblin House. They'll need a disguise. So we cut to Goblin House, where Credence Cruella explains that when she arrived in Vikinvania, the place was in ruins. It was called Nilbog. And it was crippled under the weight of late-stage capitalism.
Yes, this is timely for a movie coming out in the 90s and developed in the 50s.
It only gets worse. When she and her husband arrived, they renamed the town, gave the goblins jobs as farmers, and allowed them to worship freely, so long as they worshipped vegan Jesus. Vegus.
That might be the word with the worst mouthfeel I've ever come across.
Yeah, I hated saying it. So there's a knock at the door. Pete answers to see what is clearly Fugly on Kurt Russell's shoulders in a trench coat. It's an oldie but a goodie. He claims to be Aunt Goofy's cousin. He thinks of like a name off the top of his head, Tommy Wiseau. He shoulders himself past Pete and then sits by Holly. Holly is like instantly attracted to Tommy Wiseau, much to the chagrin of Kurt Russell, who's the bottom half of the trench coat person.
Yep.
And Fugly is like way into her too.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Tongue Wiseau's chest asks that the windows be opened because it's really stuffy.
Sure.
Donald, with a carrot finger, gets closer to dipping it in the green chip dip. The window opens and Josh yells, "Now!" Grandpa chucks his Molotov, which catches the table on fire, which is the vegetable prince, screaming in agony as he is roasted to deliciousness.
Oh, no. You
mouth
just made it worse.
Yeah, you made it way worse. Yeah, I'm getting hungry. Josh's Molotov flies through the air, or through the window, hitting Pete, who bursts into flame.
There we go.
Kurt Russell blindly throws his, which hits the wall, doesn't break, and rolls away harmlessly.
Perfect.
Yeah. In the ensuing chaos, the family scatters. But before they can escape, Grandpa Ghost is caught by Credence Cruella, who fires CGI lasers from her fingertips, which kill Grandpa Ghost. I definitely wrote myself into a corner, and I didn't know what to do, so I'm like, lasers.
Yeah.
Hey,
that makes about as much sense as anything else that happens in Troll 2.
Right. It was the most Troll 2-ian I felt during the writing process. And then lasers. Fugly whispers, "Oh no, Double Dead's the deadest you can get." Which is the most knife brickery I felt while writing this.
Yeah.
Double
It
Dead's the
absolutely
deadest you can get. Josh tries to run to his disappearing grandpa, but Holly pulls him away. Everyone regroups at the house. Sitting on the couch, Holly talks to Fugly, who's still in the coat, about Grandpa. Sitting on the porch, Josh pouts. He has no Grandpa, no Molotov cocktails.
Oh.
Yeah. Goofy and Donald sit enjoying the chip dip Donald snagged on the way out. Searching for her husband's killers, Credence Cruella finds the absolute beefcake, the prince from Snow White, in the Winnebago. Having been years since being pleasured by a man, she seduces the prince. They make sweet, sensual popcorn.
Oh, God.
Going back inside, Josh finds Donald and Goofy have become trees. They
had to dip.
Yeah, don't do that. More desperate than ever, Josh means to give up. It's then that Fugly remembers that Grandpa left him a gift, something so terrible that it only is to be used if all else fails. Before it can be revealed, it is interrupted by a shotgun blast. Outside stands Sheriff Mickey.
Sheriff Mickey freak.
Yes. He tosses a sack of Impossible Burgers onto the porch, saying it'll go easier on everyone if they just eat the Impossible Burgers. Yeah. Inside, Fugly finishes off his pack of hot dogs. Using his...
That's a sentence.
Fugly finishes off his pack of hot dogs using his meat sweat magic. He pulls the old switcheroo.
His meat sweat magic?
Right. Well, because I didn't want to bring their grandpa back because I needed somebody to actually stay dead.
Right. So he's already been an instrument of Grandpa's from the beginning. So.
Right. So it comes down to Fugly to figure out how to do the old switcheroo.
So he pulls a Popeye with some uncooked hot dogs and gets the meat sweats.
I specifically remember going to Coney Island and getting the meat sweats after eating some like Nathan's hot dogs. And it was like the middle of summer.
Eating them raw?
So?
Mommy, I have salmonella. That's also the name of the guy who gave me these.
Hey, you want some mustard? So Josh and Fugly are exchanged for Schnitzel the pig. I justify this because it's like a weight distribution thing.
Okay.
Schnitzel's very fat.
It's a pig.
It's a big pig.
Pigs get big.
Just as Sheriff Mickey and the goblins burst into the house. Now in Goblin House, Josh summons the courage and with the help of Fugly, crams the bologna sandwich in Credence Cruella's mouth.
Oh. Which
makes way more sense to me, at least.
Well, I mean, yeah, it makes absolutely zero sense for somebody else eating a sandwich to kill them.
Right. She is overcome with so much meat sweats that she bursts into a puddle of hot dog water. Her spell is broken. The boy forest turns into just plain boys. Holly, who is bested by the goblins in hand-to-hand combat, is overtaken by the sheer numbers. It is then that the goblins' eyes clear, revealing that they are no longer evil vegans. I kind of want them to have like anime eyes. But
sure. Yeah. Okay.
In the aftermath, Fugly, still in trench coat, admits to Holly that he's been lying. He's actually a goblin on the shoulders of Kurt Russell in a raincoat. She pulls him from the raincoat and plants a kiss on him. This breaks a spell. He becomes a normal fugly boy. They make out as Kurt Russell walks off into the sunset.
Oh, Kurt, no.
Yeah, I didn't know. It was kind of like a loose thread. I didn't know what to do with him.
That's fair. Yeah, no, he kind of loses in this one.
Yeah. In the epilogue, we learn that Holly has inherited the crowns of the two dead princes who had never stopped loving her. This makes Josh a prince, and as Josh is a male, he has first right to the throne. He does away with late-stage capitalism, converting the land to the serf system. The free boys, his royal court, and the goblins subjugated to work the land. Holly and Fugly wed as the words, "Everyone lived happily ever after," fade from view. The end.
Jesus fucking Christ. Jack, what did you just do?
I don't know. I don't even have words to like, are we just done? Is the podcast over now? Because I don't know what the fuck we just did.
That... I can't...
It's a Disney classic, right? I can't wait for them to put in the like hot dog water slip and slide, like the Magic Kingdom.
Oh God! You keep bringing up hot dog water. Yeah. That's all. Like I'm getting like olfactory like hallucinations of just like boiled hot dog water.
It's the worst.
It's terrible. I will say this: I think you have found a way to take this movie and get it nominated for a Razzie.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're right.
I think that's what you just did. Is holy fuck!
I'm so sorry, Kurt Russell.
You lost in this one, bud. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God you have a fruitful career outside of this. Whew.
So what'd you think?
It was entertaining. It was. I think you maintained a lot of the plot and a lot of the key core moments of the the most memeable moments of the film. Certainly, I just can't stop like hearing things in Goofy's voice running through my head here. I think
I didn't quite nail the Disneyfication of it.
No, I don't think so either. But because I think a full Disneyfication of it would not be like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit style, like all stars casting of the film. It would they would all the entirety of the existing movie would all be unique animations. I think, but the additions of things like Schnitzel and Fugly are.
I love that character.
Fugly was fun. I enjoyed Fugly. I think. I don't know if this would have furthered the Dark Ages for Disney. I
just expanded the Dark Ages well into the 90s.
Just, tanked the Renaissance.
Oh shit! He has the Little Mermaid in one hand and Troll 2 in the other. And you're like, Walt did say he wanted to do this. That's what Kurt Russell said.
Kurt swore that this is what Walt told him on his deathbed. I don't know. Roy swore it wasn't true, but he's not around anymore. We guess we take him at his word.
And I think what happened was Jeffrey Katzenberg got his hands on that, and that's what became Shrek.
You know what this is missing? Smash Mouth.
If I'd thought about it, it would have been in there. Holy jeez.
Fucking hell.
Well, it's been a fun day of podcasting.
So that's a thing that you all just experienced. Thank you for listening. Please do listen again, for the love of God.
Our show's not normally like this.
No, this is not a good example of what we normally do, but it's like we said, it's the spooky season. We wanted to do some fun stuff that is outside of the normal for us. And we are, to be fair, we're also gearing up for it was going to be a very trying episode of our normal format. So we really wanted to get some levity and some goofiness out before that.
So if you liked what you heard, you'll like it even more normally. Share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, share it with your mom and dad.
Share it with your priest, share it with your grocer, share it with your
mailman. You know what? Say hi to your mailman.
Say hi to your mailman. Tip your mailman.
Honestly, you probably should. You can subscribe and follow and download us all the places you can find podcasts.
You can favorite us in Anchor. You can subscribe and follow in Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. Please rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser or wherever else you can rate. Those help us pop up in search algorithms much better, so more people can discover us. And
we'll be sure to
razzle dazzle you.